call the Hopkinton Town Council Budget Workshop of March 13th, 2019 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right, so first up, this is our last budget meeting. It was a supplemental budget meeting, but we have a lot of, obviously, a lot of loose ends to take care of tonight. First up, we'll chat about the police department. I think the last budget meeting, actually the one before Monday, we went over the police budget, and I think, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it went up about $18,400 or so. Subsequent to that, I think we got some new figures from you on healthcare, things like that, that revenue from the tax assessor that helped our cause. And then the only other thing, if you guys remember, is because the potential new employee, we had to add some overtime, so that's kind of why that budget went up about $18,000. But the chief had about, I think, $29,000 in his forfeiture funds currently on deposit. And so we wanted to look at, I think Brian may have some of these figures, how much of that overtime last year was due to investigations, I guess, because that can be paid for with forfeiture funds versus the standard backfilling of overtime. So Brian, maybe just chat with us on where that police department stands and all those numbers and all that.
So we, as you mentioned, we decreased the healthcare because of the new employees not need healthcare. We did increase originally 2 workshops ago, and we decided to move forward as far as implementing it in the budget anyways. We increased the overtime by $30,000. Originally, we thought it was going to be $35,000. We realized that $5,000 was for the FDA employee. That can be covered by forfeiture funds. Then we continued to look a little bit deeper into the overtime, and any of that investigative task force overtime that was caused from working on task force, we could also cover that with forfeiture funds. So we were able to, I went through and found, I had the chief and his assistant or secretary, whatever, Jill, help pull some numbers over the last year. And our estimate was, I think we could safely decrease it by $4,000. Mm-hmm. So I've done that in the budget. He told me 3. I think we could comfortably do 4. I wanted to do 5. He wanted to do 3. Yes, so we decreased it by $4,000. So now instead of an increase of 30, it's an increase of 26.
Okay.
And that's baked into the budget that you guys have.
Wasn't the 30 though, Brian? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the 30 offset initially by the health care from the new person not needing the family?
Correct. And so as you mentioned before, there was, when we added the $30,000 in overtime, it was offset by the previous employee who had a family plan.
And this person's not going to.
So when we updated,
just a buyback.
Yeah, he's just a buyback for $3,500. So the net impact was like $18,500.
Okay, that's what.
So now that's decreased by $4,000.
Okay, so
the net impact would be $14,500.
You guys follow that?
Yes, and what happened with the dispatchers, because that's gone down too. Change from fiscal year 1819 was 5,728, change from 1819 now is 1,059.
I haven't touched it. Well, are you talking about the bottom line dispatchers?
Yes.
Oh, it would just be the healthcare. So as we mentioned in the last workshop, we got the new healthcare rates.
Okay.
So prior to the last workshop, I baked in the new, it was healthcare we were originally told a 5% increase, and it's actually 2.8, down 2.8.
So that's where that change came in.
Yeah, so all the departments you'll see any movement in, it's just because of the change in the healthcare rates. Okay. So the trust gave us their latest estimate, and we sort of decreased you know, across the board, because everybody gets the same health plan.
What's the title of that new one, that new employee on page 24? Where would it be? Is he?
Oh, he would, are you looking at the payroll page?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a
71?
patrolman.
The
Yeah.
71, 748?
He's the one that, 62,882 would be his base rate.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Yep. So he's a patrolman by title.
Do we have the new education numbers too in this budget
Yes, yep,
from last night?
Mhm.
yep.
And last night, from you guys that went there, my son, Sharon, and Barbara, we were the only ones in the audience. They're basically ready to ratify this massive budget. Sharon spoke, Barbara spoke, I spoke, went back and forth with Bill Day a couple times. And anyway, I like to think it was because we were there and we spoke on behalf of the town, that actually no one from our town offered any reductions, sadly enough, but the chair, Ryan Callahan, who I believe is from Richmond, mentioned dropping the healthcare from what they were
7%
factoring
to
in to 6%, so it gave another $55,500. So it's about 21,000 less to us at 36.8%. So it really made a difference. I thanked him, and I think hopefully Ms. Drummond will give my quote in the paper.
It's in the paper.
Okay.
You can read it.
Big shout out to Ryan for helping us out.
It's in there.
Okay.
I would like to say that I wasn't there Tuesday night, but I would acknowledge and thank Sharon, and Barbara, and yourself for representing Hopkinton, I guess technically unofficially, but certainly as council members. And I think that right now I'm not going to vote for the terrible budget. You know, my issue through the years has been the outside management study. And maybe it's an obsession with me. But I think that when you give around 75% of your budget to the schools, that is not giving the schools really a short shrift. That's a significant amount of money, which means that there's less money that goes to police, public works, and other, what we would classify as general government. So the school department does very well. I don't have a problem working or encouraging the state to spend more money in education, because property taxes usually impacts homeowners, especially in these smaller towns, than some of the other municipalities. But I do thank the three of you for being there. I know Sharon is new to the council, but I was really impressed by your list and your work as a freshman town council member, and I thank you.
Yeah, so it was a little contentious at times, mainly because of me. I think. Well,
But it was okay.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask them questions. And, you know, I had to go up to each one of them, the ones that represent our town, and ask why they did or didn't support some of the reduction measures that we brought forward over the years, and very disappointing some of the answers, but yeah, so anyway, that worked out.
But I'd like to say one thing. I know I did not, I haven't heard the go-between you and William Day of Richmond. But the town of Richmond, historically, at least in recent times, has spent more of the town budget on education than we have as far as percentage. And I would think if you represent the town of Richmond, that you would be particularly concerned about the impact of charitable budget on your town operations and your ability to do things. And they should be as vigilant as the town of Hopkins has been. And I think that should be said publicly. Thank you.
We're still on the police budget?
Yep.
Okay. I have a question. The increase, for instance, on overtime, where it's at 122,
Yeah.
122,000. That went up, but there was a corresponding decrease for revenue.
Correct. Oh, no.
So on the revenue.
No, there's no revenue.
Well,
There's no revenue. That's forfeiture funds. We don't forecast that.
Okay,
There's no way.
so, in the future, if there, let's say, someone discovers, through drug enforcement that the town is, giving some money, do you end up calling that forfeiture?
Yeah, it
Is
has to go into a separate account.
That's what you call it? though?
Yeah, it would never show up in the operating budget as revenue.
Okay,
It's actually very specific, the federal forfeiture guidelines that it cannot.
so that revenue that we're going to use for forfeiture, is that anywhere in the budget, reflected in the budget somewhere?
No, it cannot be.
It cannot be.
It's got to be specific to the police department and used on the police department.
Well, overtime went up, isn't that what it's gonna get used for?
Portion.
Oh, right, so I just decreased the amount of, so I guess I'm not really
What I'm
understanding the
saying
question.
is, we had to increase the police budget because we bring someone on for a specific purpose.
Correct.
But there's also revenue to counter, new revenue to counter
Yeah, but that money cannot be ever put in our operating budget. It's got to be used by the federal forfeiture guidelines,
Right,
which I sent to the council.
right.
And it's very specific in that
Right.
it cannot be used
So,
in our.
Brian, maybe
but
I
it
think
can
what
be
some of
used
this,
for the police budget, something in there, it's
It
gonna pay
cannot,
for
no, it
something.
cannot be. It cannot
But it
be
can-
used to offset budgetary items, period. It's
Or
very,
if you buy a car,
that's a
Well, what's it used
CIP,
for?
that's a CIP item.
so then what's it used for?
It can be used for CIP items. It can be used, it cannot be used for
So then why
supplanting.
don't we put the CIP item in there? The OT, the specific, so I'm just trying to find a way to let people know that we're not, all of a sudden, our overtime is going up by a huge amount. Well, there's a reason for it, so maybe that revenue should be,
yeah, maybe Brian,
Reflected
explain,
somewhere.
explain, you know, where the money went, so kind of do a paper trail, so.
Okay,
Start with the OT that was elevated because of the
Okay,
position.
so we
And
took
then-
on,
and then-
we took on a lateral transfer from Westerly. He's a 20-year detective. He has a position with the FDA, which is, yeah, okay, so he basically, if he puts time in at the FDA and they crack a case, will be entitled to some forfeiture funds. Those forfeiture funds, when they come, if they come and when they come, they have to follow the federal forfeiture guidelines. And I sent that out to the council, and I mean, I don't want to get into too much detail, but you cannot use it for supplanting. It's very specific about, you cannot eliminate items out of your budget and with anticipation.
see, I thought you already had forfeiture funds
Oh, we do.
in the bank.
Oh, we
do.
do
We
have
do
some,
We have about
right.
29,000.
Okay, good.
Correct, yeah, yep. So, and the chief, you know, he knows that he has to go through
Okay,
Bill's office before he spends that, so we can make sure that it's something, and to answer your question, the way it's gonna benefit the town
I get it now.
is to basically, when they do need a purchase of a car or to fix the air conditioner, that instead of having to
Updating
come,
the radios.
instead of having to come to the town, they have the money that they can use from forfeiture funds.
Is it in the fund balance summaries?
Yes, there's three line
There's three
items.
identified
Exactly,
before.
that's what I meant, is I think she's trying to see where it is.
Oh,
It's fund
All right,
balance.
so.
That's the current money that we have.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So if you look at
This
that
is where
report,
this is.
there's three accounts that make up that forfeiture money.
It's on, it's in,
The very last page, Sylvia, I can point it out.
it's in fund balance summaries.
Way in the back. Way in
The
the back.
very last page.
Of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the bank accounts are.
There's nothing new? Oh, that's stuff.
Where's the? Alright, so the city council. We just, it's this one here.
Those two.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
That's 37.
Okay. It's at second grade, so.
But that's your,
Yeah.
so, you know, it is what it was.
Is that the new one this year?
Well, those figures haven't changed, Scott, but, yeah.
It's all the way in the
Yeah,
back,
that page hasn't
very,
changed.
very back.
Well, I think that's not in the back.
So, okay, so I saw it anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's what we got out of the closet now.
Yep.
So does everybody know kind of where we were in terms of that initial overtime and how that got calculated? I don't mind having Brian go through it again. Alright, so Brian, anything else to add on the police?
No, I think everything's
We
been.
went over the CIP.
Yeah, it was all done a couple workshops ago.
Yeah.
The only change that's been made is I did some research on the overtime and we were able to decrease it by 4,000.
And that's because the only part that forfeiture money can be used for is if it was investigative nature. That's what we can use to offset the current budget by what he's got in the account now. All right. Any other questions with the police guys? Gals? Okay. All right. Public welfare stipend. I listed this on the agenda.
I support $100. I know some people disagree. It's an elected town office, and I think it's a question of respect. I think it's respect to town government.
That's what we have.
And I point out, and I did point out the other night, that that office or equivalent to that office exists in several towns, and I don't know how they operate, so there's no reason that Hopkinton can't have some type of semblance of a public welfare director, at least as a resource person, and to go out and recruit somebody if somebody's not willing to do it. And that's my position.
And my position is that we have not funded it for several years now, many years now, and I would like to continue that way.
The nonprofits do these things.
As the nonprofits, and we give a lot of money to them, and we should.
Well, the other day, you made the statement about how much money we give to nonprofits, which is not true.
CDBG funds.
An examination of the list of grants and contributions of this town usually include 2 ambulance corps, 2 libraries, the Wood River Health Services, and I know that we give money to the Memorial Day Parade to usually, I think it's a contingency fund. All those other groups that you mentioned, other than Wood River Health Services, gets money from Community Development Block Grant, which we usually list and rank them, but the town of Hopkins does not give many grants and contributions, and anybody who examines the budgets of this town, the adopted budget, most of those things that you listed the other night are not included, other than Wood River Health Services. And people just have to look at the plain print in front of them.
We aren't looking at grants and contributions.
So anyway, we're gonna do 0?
I
We
do.
spent a lot of time on it.
No.
What do we want to do, 0?
I would support $50, but just to keep it because it's elected and we feel strongly about it. So if anyone's so inclined to enable that to happen.
Well, I take $50. I think it should be at least 100 because it's an elected town office, and
Well, it's
They're
unnecessary, nobody does it anymore, let's take it to 0, if something changes in the future, we can deal with it. And anything someone needs, they can get from Lisa, so.
Can we take it to 0?
It is, it's been 0.
It's been 0.
It's been at 0
Oh,
for
okay,
years.
fine.
Yeah,
For years.
for years.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
I respectfully disagree. I realize that I lose.
Well, I supported you, so remember that.
I believe in deal making, that's the greatness of politics. And you
Okay.
can-
Yes, next is the CIP. Any real changes? to
Yeah,
that?
there is a change that I have to come clean on because there was an oversight on my part. We talked several times at the budget workshop and at previous meetings with Liz about the revalve. And I realized when I was talking to her yesterday that it needs to be in this CIP because it's 7-1
It's his-
revalve. So when we were talking, I was, I kind of just hit myself in the head. I was like, it's not in the current CIP. So the cost to the town, because it's a 60% reimbursement from the state, is $21,600. So that increased the CIP, and we were able to, like I said, decrease, we found some good decreases in between the last workshop and now, meaning we found an increase in the net assessed value. We were able to save on healthcare about $42,000 and $10,000 in tax revenue based on the net assessed value. So it was basically, and then the $4,000 for the police overtime. So that was offset slightly by this addition to the CIP,
And
which
the
is,
school bill that went down because of healthcare, that was essentially the same thing, about 20,000. So the CIP went up just because of the revaluation of 21,600 for the tax
So
assessment.
it went up 7,000.
so I know that you guys were all aware of it because we talked about it, but it was not in the CIP.
About 21,600.
We started at 14,600. We originally had it at 14,600 and it went to 21,600.
I don't think, what was 14,600 in the tax assessment?
That was the computer replacement.
Yeah, so it's in addition to,
So it's in addition.
Yes, yep.
it's on the, right about on the new CIP that it is. CIP. So it's in addition to what was already there. That's the only change on the.
That's the only change in the CIP, and I do apologize. That was a complete oversight on my part. I don't look at this thing for hours a day, and I was kind of shocked when I realized it wasn't in there.
Thankfully, it's reimbursed 60%.
And thankfully, we caught it before, so we didn't go to, we already awarded the bid to Vision, so we would have went to go, they would have sent us a bill in July, and we would have, I would have started
It's
sweating.
not a fundraiser. Yeah. Any questions on that, folks? Okay. Next, the land trust. Uh-oh. There we are. All right, so I think last time we talked, correct me if I'm wrong, Marilyn, you had sent us like a spreadsheet and you were looking for, I think there was, correct me if I'm wrong again, I think your intent was 5,000 more, but you didn't have the town revenue from the clerk of 10,000 in that spreadsheet, so it looked like you were asking for 15,000.
Right.
Okay, but it was 5, am I correct? Okay. So,
An increase of 5 over what we can get.
correct. So,
I've got a couple of increased revenue items that might help. I'd like to increase, give an increase to them because we're at the moment, at this time, I know in the future things are gonna change, we're all getting older. And you folks that are putting in so many hours, you're gonna keep it up when you're 90, sure, if you feel good. But the point is that I know you guys put in a lot of hours and you can't always count on that. You can't always count on all the volunteers you need. So I think that this extra money is really needed. I think you need to get to the right place and the right revenue and you'll level off. That's what I think. So I'm hoping for that. But so there are a few items that we could nudge that would offset 5,000, if that makes everybody feel better. So anyway, I'd like to see him get the 5.
I would too, and I think the work we're doing on opening all of the trails and the grant, all of the trails, all of the land has been really amazing over the last couple of years, so I'd like to continue that. So I think it is really important, because this is public land and it should have public access. So I thank you for all the work you're doing, and I know it's all done on a volunteer basis.
So, you want to hear some revenue things or we're not going to?
no, yeah, let's,
Well, all I can say is when I was on a previous council, we established the Hopkinton Land Trust. I think it's one of the most positive things I've ever done as a member of the town council, certainly in conjunction with other council members, so I don't have a problem saying that, despite the fact that I'm told occasionally by some people we've saved enough land in town. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I'm saying I've heard it. Anyways, the only thing that concerns me with any additional money is this budget cap that with the state, but I support what Sylvia said about giving them the money, and I'm just very conscious about this budget cap and the ramifications of it. That's all I have to say.
No, I will just go, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine for me too.
Good,
Um,
okay. Thanks,
so-
people. And thank you for all your.
One question, it will be handled as it was before?
Yeah, you know, I had a question about,
Percentage of,
to be honest, I was trying to talk to Brian ahead of the meeting, you know, because I'm always aware of the clerk's revenue and how can we, you know, give you the 5 but yet not have it attached to that, but, so I think at the end of the day, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be cleaner just to do that instead of creating another CIP item. I don't know.
No, no.
Instead of putting it in operating, so I think
Right.
it's probably cleaner not putting it in operating. keep it
So
in CIP.
are we doing it the same way they get the 10,
Yeah, I'm just talking about the extra 5, so the 10 is from the clerk's revenue, so I was trying to separate the two, still give them the 5, but yet keep the 10 the way it was, but I don't know, Brian, there's no other way other than, I think the cleanest way is to keep it,
yeah,
Yeah, I would think
not
so.
put it in the operating budget, keep it in the CIP.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the money in the CIP is stewardship funds,
Okay.
and the council initially, when I set it up, they put some rules around governing how that money's supposed to be
Yeah.
spent.
So we'll keep it the same, yeah. There's no easy way to kind of separate it, so I was just trying to do that, but.
we might want a little more freedom in the spending of that
You gotta
because
talk to Brian, I don't know how that works.
Well,
As far as
Okay.
Well,
reading-
you had designated it as only for stewardship
Oh.
and not being able to use it for legal fees and other things that are really integral to what we have to do. So that's why we were hoping that we could just not have that stipulation.
Well,
we
I
can look
was,
at that.
yeah.
Take a look, because I mean, honestly, then the legal fees and other things like that have to come out of bond money, which is specifically meant for purchasing property only.
If Brian or Bill can get us that verbiage, because I wasn't prepared to decide on that.
Sure,
Then we can look at it.
I
excellent.
think that would, I think that would be worthwhile taking a look at that, because if we were to do it with the bond money, we're paying for that lawyer for 20 years, and I'd really rather pay for the lawyer and have it over with, but if we're taking it from bond money, then I'm paying the lawyer for 20 years.
Right,
That's not fun.
that's not
So
good.
I think we should discuss it.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work you do.
So, one thing I didn't quite get with that conversation is, we have it set up where they can get X amount up to 10,000. Are we gonna do up to 15?
Yes.
Okay.
it's just, I was trying to separate it out because I thought it might be easier to do that, but obviously it's not. Brian prefers not to have it in the operating budget,
Yeah,
but keep it in the
we
CIP.
reflect that, Lucy's budget, wherever that.
Yeah,
This needs to decrease.
There's a link resource.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Good night.
Alright. Next up is warrant items, not sure if there's any of those, but,
Do you want to
Although-
continue on budget items?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a few things. One of them is impact fees. That we have impact fees every time a building
Yeah.
permit gets pulled. I'd like to have us, just for a real quick thing, I'd like to send the impact fee document over to legal, because I don't know that we've ever looked at that again as a town. I don't believe we have, so we may be able, it's complicated, but it's done. And because it's been in force for more than a decade, it might be that, or thereabouts, it might be that it's time to increase that impact fee amount.
yeah, we've already put, that's actually an annual goal, for that building and zoning, and I'm helping them with calculation. So that's something that
You're looking at already?
we're already looking at, yeah.
Okay, so it might
Yeah.
be an
Yeah.
increase.
I
Okay.
think we can do that by July 1.
Oh, no, well,
Well, that's the
well, we
goal.
hope so.
The goal, I mean,
Yeah, to
Yeah.
capture, because there's building activity happening, yeah.
Exactly.
So the other thing is, I would like to see us access the amount, there's 100,000 or almost
Yeah.
100,000? That will really help get this budget down, if we use that money.
Well, yeah, I think it's really, I think what we've done in the past is use it to offset educational expenses.
Yeah, it has, I think it has to be.
And
So-
we've got plenty of.
Oh, we've got plenty of that, certainly.
Yep.
I didn't know, I think we maybe chatted, or Bill, I forget, but were we expecting to use that maybe next fiscal year? For
Yeah,
some
I was anticipating using it next fiscal
Okay.
year, because next fiscal year, we have a 3% increase on salaries across the board contractually with the unions. Healthcare went down this year, it's not gonna go down again next year, I can almost guarantee you that. The land trust principal on that loan,
Yeah.
so our debt service is going up
Yeah,
110,000.
right, right.
So our budget next year is
Perfect storm.
gonna go up substantially. I mean, you're talking, the 3% increases on salaries across the board for police, all clerical, everybody. So that's gonna be a big hit next year. And then if we have another enrollment shift, God forbid, we're gonna have to absorb a 3% increase on salaries, which also affects
Land
pensions,
trust.
because pension's a percentage of payroll.
Okay.
Land trust bond,
Hold it in abeyance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so-
why,
so
just so
it's
you
there
know,
for-
I fully aware of that, but I know what's down the road,
yeah.
so I specifically held that out, because even just the land trust bond, we're adding 110,000 debt service, this 100,000 of impact fees would at least offset almost all that, so
Okay.
it gets us over one hurdle
Yeah,
next year.
because the amount that's in CIP for the land trust bond is only interest, and that's about, what, 60,000?
Yes, correct,
Right.
correct, for the bond that we have to
Right,
issue,
right.
yep,
So that doesn't count principal, which is gonna add another.
it's gonna come in next year, yep.
100,000, 110,000.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
where are you looking at the impact fees?
Oh, it's in the.
Oh, it's just something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in four. Okay.
20,000, see,
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you.
I have a question on the land trust. So, column 2 is going to change from revenue of 10,000 to 15?
15.
Okay. And then the total will be 25. I'm just going across.
No, so just to give you a little bit of background on that, it's in the CIP, but there's no financial impact to the CIP. It's just in there as a discussion point and kind of an item that we review every year. However, the money comes out of the
Lisa's
clerk's
revenue.
revenue.
Clerk's revenue.
So the impact of that $5,000 would be a decrease in Lisa's revenue by $5,000. And the way it's drafted up originally was that when she collects her revenue for conveyance fee, conveyance fee, she's 25% of that goes to the land trust every month until they hit their cap. The cap previously was 10,000, now it's increased to 15. So they'll get 25% of that conveyance fee until 15,000. So essentially that's less revenue that we're going to take in the operating budget. So I'll have to decrease her revenue by 5,000.
Yeah, so
All set?
you all set?
Page 21, which is building and zoning. I wanted to ask you about, or refer to, is there revenue? Oh, it's down at the bottom. On page 21, you see how we obviously have, over the last few years, gone up and up and up. And, I mean, if you drive around town, you're just like, whoa, not even just houses being built, but houses that are about to be built and houses that have just been built. So anyway, I would like to see us increase the revenue for the building and zoning by an amount. Doesn't have to be a big amount, but I think we're clearly going to, I believe, taking more than 100,000 building permit fees. So, and you can look at our past, I mean, 17, 18 was 148,000. But, so, I could put an extra 5.
It's a slippery slope, guys.
Well, even if it's only 2,000, I mean, we're
Oh,
really
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to massage the budget. And
Well, I
I'm-
think-
like I said,
I'm okay with 105 too, because even right now they're at 51, which is going to be up to
in
100.
spring, it's just
And
sprung.
that's, and, right,
Or back.
exactly.
Yeah, but-
And-
And we talked about this when we went over with the department head here.
Right.
Yeah.
We had a whole conversation about building and zoning, and this didn't come up. And we did discuss it, and the reason is that we had solar projects that were in the works.
Right.
So she gave, we had an itemized list of,
Yeah, that was the 148.
right, that was the big one. So,
Right.
we know now that these solar projects are not gonna be
It's prevalent.
as prevalent in July of next year going forward. They're either in the works or we've already received the building and zoning gets that revenue up front. We're not as like the tax assessor where she collects it annually. So, we did go over this already at the budget workshop and we looked at it and the thought was we increased it by 15,000 and that was what we were comfortable with at that time, knowing that going forward that these solar projects weren't gonna continue to be popping up as often as they are now.
Yeah.
That was our
We should
thought.
probably leave it the way it is, folks. That's my opinion.
Oh, come on, how about a couple of thousand
I
at
think
least?
you can, because, even without the solar projects, the
Just
99,000
houses.
was houses.
Yeah.
So, I really think that the houses are going to, whether people like it or not,
They're
we're
not
going to get
small
more
houses
houses.
that are
And they're not
going in.
small houses, these are $400,000 and $500,000 houses. So I think we can easily go up to 105. I don't see that.
Why don't we go up to like 103 because it's 15, 18, and it's half a year, so 3,000 would seem in the ballpark.
All right, so massage it up to just 3,000? I'm fine with that.
What?
I'm in favor of increasing it by a small amount.
I suggest
3,000 is
3,000,
okay?
not to exceed 3,000, I think would be probably appropriate. That's based upon the 15, 18. So 12/31, it was 51,518. So
Something you need to spend time on it because you already have, but we just need to know if there's consensus to add an amount.
I'd say 103,000.
Yeah, so you guys are okay with that. I probably want to stay where it is, so that's my conservative nature. But
I think the 103 is accurate. I think
So
that's.
we'll change that to 103.
Right, so I'm on board. Okay, 103, Brian. I know
It goes
the
up to 100, I told you.
The other one
That's
is
fine.
another item I want to bring up to page 5. It's,
Can we go over something that's not on the agenda? Are we,
Yeah, I know, this is
We're not
like a
supposed to.
recap of the whole,
Okay.
sorry. Well, anyway.
I just don't want to get ourselves in.
Yeah,
But I don't think we're in trouble because everything's been posted and we're talking about the budget.
Okay.
well, it's. No, it's not. No, it's not true. It's gonna, you can't start talking about specific budget departments that are not listed on the agenda.
Like we
Yeah,
just-
but building and zoning is listed.
No, it isn't.
No.
No. So that's why I'm saying.
Well, so how does exactly does the budget, the agenda read?
Yeah, it says discussions on an annual budget. It's got police, public welfare, capital improvement, CIP, warrant items, grants. That's the order that I'm going in tonight, right? Grants and contributions, general government, debt service, education, boards and commissions, net assessed values, tax rate, collection rate.
Well, good, general government is there. I want to bring up general.
Other departments, agencies, and budgetary matters, and this is a budgetary matter.
Okay, so
And it's
page,
also part of general government.
page 5 under general government.
Yes, go ahead.
Electricity, page 5. I'm not suggesting any changes. All I wanted to do was point out that when it comes to this electricity, street lighting, et cetera, that we need to, I'm not sure the Route 91 solar proposal, I can't remember the motion that we made then, but I do know that Main Street next to the Hartwood, the one down here at exit 1, that one, solar project, we did tie it to having them sell to us the credits for electricity, so we can get a break on this, on our electric bill, and obviously we can't reflect it at this time, but it's something we need to pursue with the solar company. Main Street, perhaps 91, you'd have to check the
91 had nothing.
But that's only Building and operations, that's only one, that's not all of our electricity.
No, but well, actually, if you look at street lighting, that's our
Yeah, right.
$32,000. So, but anyway, so, no, it was just something I wanted to bring up.
Well, just so I know what you're talking about, and I can make a
A
note.
break on our electric bill, but you'd
Right.
you'd have to ask Lisa to pull the motion that we made for Main Street
Okay.
and pull the one for 91,
291, yeah. Well, both?
both of them.
Yeah, we
We'd have to look at both of them.
Yeah, I think it's
I
only
know
one.
we
I think
did
it's
it
only
for
one.
Maine, but I don't know if we did
I
anything
don't-
special
I
on
don't think
91.
so.
So,
Yeah, I can't
May
remember. I know
not.
it's one of them, I'm not sure it's.
I know it was Maine, I know we did it
Yeah.
there, but I don't know if we did it in 91, so.
But it might be worth bringing up with Mr.
Yes, you are.
On page 5, if we paid a bounty, what would we pay a bounty on?
That's Lisa's department.
That's the.
25 cents?
15 cents.
Oh, 15?
Yes.
Woodchuck knows this.
It's really important.
We give them, we'll give them an extra dime
Oh,
if they take
it's-
it
oh,
out,
okay.
and I don't encourage it.
I was just curious.
That's a bounty, that's a bounty.
So if I bring you a
That's a
woodchuck
bounty on
notice, give
Scott.
you 15 cents.
Under
I defended the bounty debating Ellen Bus, Toledo and Bosque years ago to keep it.
Under boards and commissions, with Billy.
Wait a minute, hold on, let's get, where are you?
Now I'm bringing up a new topic, under boards and commissions. It's page 50, grants and
Right,
contributions.
that's at the end of the agenda. Can we just?
Oh, you can
Yeah,
go
yeah,
all
yeah,
over,
yeah.
so.
Well, no, I've been following the agenda.
Okay.
So if we, all right, so, yeah, there is one.
All right, okay.
All right, so next, we're gonna wait for the warrant items, right? We said wait till the end, right? Okay. So the next is grants and contributions. That's page 50, I believe, guys?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
We're gonna ask you, the community 2000, I thought we put that to 0. On Monday. Oh, okay, it just needs to be reflected
But
in
that,
the
but that's,
budget.
is that the new or the old?
No one, we didn't vote on, no
We
one,
didn't,
no, not
okay.
vote, but we
I'm
didn't,
sorry.
you guys
Okay,
didn't
I stand
decide.
corrected.
That's all right.
So,
We're good with right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so,
Well, there aren't any I mean, everything's,
Yeah, we didn't, no one made any,
the only
didn't make any
change is to
decisions.
get rid of 500, and everything else stays the same.
well, we're gonna go through it, because
Okay.
we never made any monetary decisions on
Okay.
each of them.
All right.
I think they all asked for more money, but now we have to decide. Anyway. All right, so the first one is Hope Valley Ambulance, they had asked for,
52. but they had
52.
budgeted 50.
right, we had budgeted 50. What do you think? I mean, I know Richard was very, very good at explaining their budgetary woes due to payroll and whatnot, so.
and
Are we-
especially now that they have to do, the volunteers can't really work as volunteers, which they've had that problem for the last couple of years. I'm okay with going up to the 52,000. I mean, he really did a good job, and I want to keep it as volunteer as possible. So I'm okay with 52. We hit at 50,000 now for shelter years, 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's a good organization. They're running into two bits of problems, I guess. I think it's a very well-run organization. I support them. I would go up to 52 myself.
For both or Hope Valley?
No, we're not talking to the other one yet. I haven't gotten it yet.
52 it is, I'm okay with that,
Okay.
under the circumstances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, our friends at Ashaway. Bill, before we talk on this item, have you gotten any of the information that we requested of them?
The only thing is I got a very brief email very next day to say that they had one separation and I apologize for not getting the documents the last 9 months, but I haven't received any additional documentation.
How about we keep it at 50, knowing that we're gonna go to a hearing, and if everything is in
Yeah,
by the
I'm
hearing date?
I'm okay level funding it, but I think as I did talk to Sylvia ahead of time before the meeting, you know, if they don't come through with the agreed upon conditions, we may have to suspend it until they do. We've told them time and time again what these conditions are and what they had to supply. And, you know, again, they need to do that, so we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it, but I'm okay level funding, because they, again, they are not in the same category as Hope Valley ambulance in terms of the bookkeeping, so that's my personal opinion. So, all right, so we'll keep that at 50, Brian, until they get the rest together. Next is the libraries, I guess, Langworthy and Ashaway. They had asked for 2,000 or 68 versus 66. Again, they've got that maintenance of effort, which is a perpetual, you know, you can't reduce it or it affects their state funding. I'm fine with level funding now.
I'll level fund, so it's fine with me.
Next is Wood River Health. They continually ask for 10. And that's an organization I think that could use a little bit more money, but because they've expanded their behavioral health centers, and it's a
And
really...
they're pursuing grants.
Oh,
They're doing-
yeah,
they're doing
no,
great.
yeah, this Alice is really, she's a top-notch executive.
I'd like to keep it at 10,000,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, you guys are okay with 10? I'd be inclined to increase it a little bit, that's okay. All right. And then Woodland Community 2,000, I guess folks want to reduce that to 0. Right?
If there's no sentiment to at least give the library some money increased, I know it's a maintenance of effort issue.
I think this year is.
Frank,
Yes, sir.
what was the decision on the Wood River?
Budget 10,000, yep. And then Community 2,000, 0.
I think our problem will be next year is going to be just as tough as this year.
Oh, it's going to be worse.
Yeah, so I think we just need to stay.
Okay, so anything else on the grants and contributions? I think we've covered everything, right? Yeah, so
When we get a chance, we'll go to general government.
well, it's next on the agenda.
Next on the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah.
That other thing, she made a very good presentation, but we really should take on new nonprofits at this time, and that's
I
the...
mean, neighbors, helping neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah, we decided that already.
yeah, that was a
That was
very
already
good thing.
decided.
Very nicely related.
Very nice lady. And I think people should donate too. So
Oh, yes, I agree.
I
Should
think.
they become one of my new ones?
Oh, yeah, me too, me too. I think so.
As for general
The
government,
general government, I guess,
let's see, where is it? I'm looking for,
page 5.
yeah, I'm looking for tower rent. Oh, wait a minute, that would be on the other end, sorry, the next page. The tower rent, all I was gonna ask is if we could pull the contract. And this is something that we've been doing since the 90s when we put that power in, so I wonder what's being charged elsewhere. And what kind of
Those
contract
contracts
is it?
are like,
3 years.
no, they're really long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think if we gotta pull the contract, just look at it.
yeah.
Can I just-
Which- Which I,
How many, there's at least...
there's 4 right now. And they're, you know, some of them are like 20-year contracts. They're long.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Anything else on pages 5 and 6, folks?
So I don't know.
It's general government, right? Debt service.
I don't think there's anything to discuss on debt service, but we've already covered that,
Right.
and there's nothing that can be changed. It's all,
Yeah, right.
you know,
Set in stone, pretty much.
I mean,
The only thing we added, right, Brian, was the land trust interest.
yeah, there was the 61,420, that's the interest only on the land
The
trust.
fourth item from the bottom on the very far right, the 61,420. That's
That's,
on the new $2 million bond this year.
Correct.
yep,
And that again does not include principal, it's just strictly interest only because of the budgetary issues that we have today.
yep, so instead of paying interest this year, we pushed it out.
Principal.
Principal, I'm sorry. We spread it over the next 14 years so that it wouldn't be a strain on the current year budget. So,
There's going to be a strain on next
yeah,
year.
it's kicking the can down the road a little bit, but
What
it
would the
gets,
amount be?
110,000.
110?
it's 110 roughly. Yeah, I mean, I have a debt schedule, but yeah, it's 110 roughly.
So,
Oh, well.
so yeah, we kind of have to, unfortunately. At least we're getting the
But
bond
at least
going.
we know that's coming up next year, and it's already in the budget for next year, so we know it's there.
Everything else is pretty straightforward. Debt service. So, all right, so we all set on debt service, folks?
Yep.
Okay, education, well, we saw a small decrease last night of 55.5, so that's about 21,000 or so extra for us. And I paid for that tax assessor evaluation, the vision appraisal. So, I just want to, if I can just touch upon one thing, I was kind of caught off guard, I think you guys may have picked up on this, but one of our school committee members had mentioned something that kind of took me off guard, and I'm there asking for $127,000 to be reduced from the budget, and then they said, well, we have 2 elementary schools, and we need a new school. So I almost choked on my gum. I said, well, I'm asking for $135,000, you're talking about millions of dollars.
What do they need a school for?
I have no, she said there's 2 schools are in need of repairs, they're gonna, they're a mess. I said, well, it's the first time hearing of it, and so I kind of said, unless you know something I don't know about the budget, I said, we can't afford it. So, and she took exception to me saying that in open session.
Oh, well.
I'm like, well, you called me off, I said, it's not like I emailed you, or we went back and forth 10 times on this topic. I found out about it last night, when I was talking about our portion of the budget. So, anyway.
Were you there from the beginning of that meeting?
Yeah.
I think she was reacting to the lady from the.
She
state.
was. There was someone there from RIDE who was explaining the housing aid and how that was going to impact their capital improvements going forward. But she was trying to say that, now's the time to apply for capital from RIDE. But we can't, as a town or a municipality, apply for it. It has to go through the district. But I also told Ms. Giusti that if you apply for aid, it's a match. So if you get 60% from them, you still need the 40%. So it's not like it's free money.
Right.
And so, just to bring that up and catch me off completely off guard, it was like, I kind of.
Richmond just needs to add on to their elementary school. You
It
know,
was like,
It's
we
also,
got empty classrooms.
But it's also what.
she caught me off guard.
What RIDE wants to do is combine schools, and so we have 2 elementary schools, so they're trying to do fewer, and that's really where it's.
Newer and fewer is what
Newer
their
and fewer.
campaign is, right? Well, you know what?
The
Give us some
voters-
money and we'll do it.
Voters won't do it, no.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Okay.
that's my spiel on education. All right, boards and commissions. Oh, conservation. My friend Harvey. Hold on. Let me get to my notes. You guys can bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
So page 49.
49, yeah. All right, so, yeah, so I went back and forth with Harvey a couple of times, and I'm just gonna read what he wrote me. We needed some money for signs. He does a great job. He donates a lot of his time to the town, and so I'd asked if another $1,000 to the budget would help things, and he said it would be great. This is what he said. The Conservation Commission meets tonight. We're going to split up the signage duties with John overseeing the graphics and me overseeing the construction. So the $1,000 would help us streamline the graphics process, including proper file names and archive storage, so future updates are easy. Anyway, that's a quick email response from Harvey. If you want to explain what it is you use the money for and how important it is to the Conservation Commission to be helpful.
All right, and over the years, we've gotten lots of.
You might want to go to the mic so people
You
can
can
hear.
hear us, Scott.
We've gotten lots of grants. And that money for now has dried up. I actually learned from statewide planning today that that's federal money from Federal Highway Administration comes down to State Department of Transportation, who co-oversees it with the Department of Environmental Management. That money is only for trails, and they can't spend it on anything else. And for some reason, the Department of Transportation is just putting it in a bank or something. They're not they've taken away spending for the time being. So that usually has supplemented what we're doing, and that source has gone away. So particularly right now, the timing is good for a little bit more. We originally asked for level funding, just so knowing it was a tough financial year. But I heard comments earlier too about how nice it is to see the signs and the trailheads and, you know, all this stuff going up and making everything available to the public, so this would help us out.
I really like the idea of the additional 1,000 because I do watch what they're doing. And for a while, they were just buying land and it was not open to anyone. And in the last several years, 3 or 4 years, they really started opening up the trails, opening up and putting in all of the signage so that people can actually use the land that they're buying with this $2 million fund. So I'm okay with that because I know the work that goes into it and I know the value to it. And it's also part of our ecotourism, it's part of economic development when we can bring people down and they can go kayaking, they can go wandering trails, and they can buy food at mom and pa's. So I think it is of great value. It's part of our economic development because it is ecotourism.
Is it the supply item? Is that the item? Is that the line item we put it in?
Yes, consulting.
Supply.
I don't know.
I don't really,
Consulting tech.
we have 3 line items.
Right.
Consulting,
Mhm.
dues and fees and supplies.
Mhm.
And we've been allowed to kind of draw however we needed to. The consulting is really the bigger item, so that's where most of the money has come from. Now we've had, such as the Southern Rhode Conservation District, doing putting together the map and stuff. I go out and GPS and stuff, but they create the maps and stuff. So
Shouldn't it
that-
really go in supplies though? We just want the public to understand what it's for. You're not consulting and making signs.
Well, you've got a very good point. Maybe
Put it in supplies.
maybe maybe the monies need to be shifted around within those 3 items or something. I don't,
I think that would make good
Just
sense.
put the
Because
1,000 in.
it's 1,000, put an additional 1,000 in supply.
okay,
That's for your materials, for your signage.
sounds great.
I'm
Okay.
okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, thanks.
Thanks, Harvey, for all your work.
Frank, I just have a question.
What is the number, the actual number for year-to-date ending December 31st is planned
For what?
on the conservation or consulting and the dues and fees? There's only $266 for supplies and the total is $266 on a budget of $3,500.
Yeah.
Not sure if I understood the question. I can try to answer it. We typically make a real shot in the springtime for spending. That's, we get through the winter, we kind of got planned out where we're gonna go, be building up the signs and various things. So we don't typically spend it all equally per month. But I think if you look back over the last few years, you'll see
You'll see it
that
got
we
spent.
pretty well always spend it.
You left $3 out one year.
Yeah, we missed it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, yeah, to answer, I guess, Joe's question, the year-to-date, you might not have spent much yet.
Yeah, they spend it in the
So
spring.
we're
They
gearing up.
organize it in the winter, spring and summer.
All right, so another 1,000 in supply line for conservation, right? Okay. All right, so the tax levy, collection rate, tax rates. That's right on page 4, right?
That'll just need to get redone.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Well, Brian,
has been, right? Yeah, it's still at 83 cents. So.
No, it's,
No.
so, I was gonna explain this. When we got the decrease in Charahoe last night, that's reflected, that decreased the projected tax rate. Because the concept was we were gonna use the amount of the increase from the school budget was gonna be 100% of the tax rate increase. So when they decreased their budget, we decreased the tax rate.
So it's 4.74% at this point?
yeah,
Well, it's a tax
You said
levy.
you have to go to the
That's
state
the levy.
to ask
That's
for
the levy.
4.74?
yeah, that's the levy.
Yeah, So
Or 128,893 over.
the tax rate now, yeah, is an increase of 80 cents because of the adjustment they made last night.
Right.
So it was 82 prior to last night.
And so I guess, while we're on page 4 and talking
Where
about,
is the 80 cents?
80, yeah, where is the 80,000?
No,
80 cents. So, yeah, so it's, if you look at last year's tax rate, it was $20.07.
Right.
Now it's $20.87.
and how did you figure that out for the group?
So, well, you take the amount of the
Oh, I
school budget increase and the decrease in state aid, which is
Yes.
$675,000 roughly.
Yep.
And then you know, that's 80 cents on the mill rate.
So you divide that by the 2007, I guess, or whatever.
You divide it by the net assessed value.
Oh, okay. And that figure is the final, the figure on page 4, Brian?
Correct, yep, so it's $20.87.
Says 28.
Increase of 80 cents.
Yeah, you're looking at the wrong budget then.
Page 4.
So, but that figure that you divide the 675 by, is that the 18,257?
Oh, it's the net assessed value, so it's the 870, so you look at the column that says net assessed.
Yep.
So it's the 874,808,0727.
Yep.
So you take that, but then you, so then divided by 0.01, which is the mill rate. So, and then you take 97% of that because of the collection rate.
Yeah.
So it works out to be 1 cent on the mill rate equals $8,486.
So 8,500.
Right, so
1,400 and,
$8,486 is 1 penny on the mill rate. So if you divide the 675,000 that the school increased and the decrease in state aid, you get 80 cents.
If you divide the 674 into the 874, is that what you're saying?
It's 675 is the impact of the school increase and the state aid decrease, the total impact, and then you divide it by $8,486,
Oh, yeah.
which is 1 penny on the mill rate, and you get 80 cents.
is the collection rate that we have, 0.97, and the motor vehicle at 0.944, has that been pretty consistent?
Yeah, absolutely. We look at it every year, and it's dead on, and that's a very slippery slope to.
I know it's slippery, but the 0.97 is something we can.
Yeah, we look at it every year, and it's almost
and
dead
it's-
on,
And
yeah.
it's dead on, okay. good.
And it, you know,
And the other 0.03% we get over the course of the next couple of years.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Well, you're doing all of those nice tax things.
yeah.
Which is very helpful.
So, while we're on page 4, maybe, Brian, you want to just let the group know, I guess, what, your
Yeah,
conversations were with the Auditor General?
So I spoke with the Auditor General today, and I was hoping to get confirmation from them, and they said they're willing to work with us. They wouldn't 100% say that they were gonna let us exceed the cap, but they said that they're thinking about it. They're gonna, basically gave me a yes without saying it, but they still have to get some information from Charahoe, which Sue and I have been working with them over the past couple of days to get them everything they need. And they can't give us a definite yes until the school budget is passed. So they're waiting on that basically, and then they'll send us a letter.
And if we can't, the 128,893 comes out of our fund balance.
Correct, yep. So I put out a document in your package that basically breaks down. Right now, we're $107,000.
You guys get this?
Yeah, so the minimum fund balance, we're, given the current, hold on, let me, actually, there are some,
That document here?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
Oh,
It's in the new packet, so. But yeah, so basically, okay, Brian, you want to?
well, so basically, as of today, prior to tonight's changes, there was because we actually made some increases. So roughly, say 100,000, that's what we currently are exceeding the minimum fund balance requirement. So the minimum fund balance is the $4,384,000.
Yeah, 182, that's 17%.
And right now, after the impact of this current budget, we'll be 100,000 over our minimum.
98, 352, something like that. I just subtracted the 9,000 adjustments for today.
Can I look at your copy?
9,000?
Yeah, 5 for land trust, 3 for the revenue on the building.
That was an increase.
Oh, that was an increase.
So
So
that's,
doesn't that decrease this figure though?
no, it would increase. The net impact of tonight was
Yeah.
4,500.
Okay.
Increase,
Yeah,
yep.
right.
Yep.
So not- Okay, I just subtracted it, basically.
So because land trust was, basically that's a negative 5,000 because they got additional 5. The building and zoning was plus 3,000. Boards and commissions was minus 1,000.
Oh, okay.
And then grants and contributions was
Minus
minus 2,000 and plus 500.
Oh, okay.
Because we got rid of the community 2,000, but we increased the expense on the
So what was the increase in expense again?
4,500.
That's about 102, 852.
Thank you.
So I just subtracted that 4,500 from the 107, 352.
Yeah, so you would take the 107 and subtract $4,500.
Yeah, it's 102,
Yep.
852. Okay.
Well, the additional 3,000 helps. Yeah, good one.
So if the order of the general says no to the increase above 4%, it's about 26,000 that would be below our 2-month operating expense in the fund balance. It's not much. So I don't think we'll have any bond rate or bond issuance issues with $26,000. That's what I got, about 26,000.
Yep, that's right. 26,000 would be, if we don't get approval,
Correct,
we'd go below the fund balance minimum by 26.
correct, yep. All right. That's that. So we're at what, 80 cents? You figured?
80 cents, yep.
All right, so the only other thing I don't think we really, well, there's 2 things we haven't tackled is the tree issue. What we want to do with that. No, I want to talk about the tree.
Right.
Yeah, not as a warrant. So, hey Tom, see you.
See you guys.
So we all got a list of the trees that were really problematic, the most important trees, the most emergency trees that needed to be taken down. There's about 97 of them in town at a cost of about $750 per tree. That's about $72,000 or so dollars to take care of that list.
You just said 97 trees?
On that emergency list.
On the emergency.
On the emergency list. That DPW went out and said, because you had mentioned how serious some of them were, so they did an analysis, came up with almost 100 trees. At $750 a tree, it's about $72,000. So, and then I think Brian brought to my attention this one particular dormant account that's been on our books for 18, 19 years, hasn't been spent. It was really sort of like an impact fee for the Pleasant View Estates project of house project near me on Dye Hill. That's been in there for a very long time. That's got about $51,000. We got a legal opinion. I gave everybody the documentation from Kevin and I exchanging emails. from the planning board, 18, 19 years ago, why the account was set up and for what purpose. The main purpose was to solely repair Dye Hill Road with that impact fee money that was set. It's called off-site improvements. It's in our restricted account, so.
And that's what we used the $2 million bond for, is we fixed Dye Hill Road.
Right, that's part of it, right. So that was part of it. That's all fixed now. It's in good shape. So, if you look at the documentation, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at the documentation that Brian dug up from way back when, minutes of the meeting, planning board decisions, basically said that they wanted to set up this account to ensure that Dye Hill Road be repaired for the foreseeable future, but there's only $51,000 in there. It wouldn't be enough to merely repair Dye Hill Road. It wouldn't be enough to, some of the other reasons for setting that money aside was recreational, sidewalks, drainage. It's just not enough money to do any of those projects in a meaningful way with only $51,000. So, Kevin was of the opinion that we could maybe move it to capital. I don't know how you guys feel about it. It's something that's been there. I again chatted with Sylvia ahead of the meeting. Maybe there's a way to isolate some trees or any issues that are in that particular area that money can be used for. It just hasn't been used for 18, 19 years, and quite honestly, there's not enough to do what the intended money was set aside for. It's just not enough. So I don't know what you guys thought, or if you had a chance to read all those materials.
I would very much like to use that money to take down as many trees as we can. We certainly could take down the ones on Dye Hill Road and Skunk Hill
Or
Road.
Skunk Hill, or
Yes,
or
Skunk Hill, Dye Hill.
Sawmill,
I mean,
those
they use
are those
all-
other streets
exactly.
too.
But I mean, I think we should, be able to take a look at this and use some of that money to take those down because they're coherent. So I would like to be able to use the money to take some of that down. I do think it's important, and I think it's a good use of those funds, because all of our towns drive all of the roads, and that's all the health and safety of all of our citizens. It isn't like we never drive on Dye Hill just because I live in Ashaway.
I think the intent was it was well intended by setting that money aside for Dye Hill, but just not enough money to essentially use that money for what it was intended
But
for.
I also think we used a $2 million bond to
We
do
did.
Dye Hill Road.
Well, that's, part of
We
it.
really did the work without using that money.
Right.
We used it on a different bond.
Probably would have been an idea to use it at that point in time for the expenses of the bond or whatever, but it never got touched.
We never
Didn't know about it.
Didn't know about it.
think about it. So I would like to use it for the trees.
Yeah.
I can get more specific with Kevin and chat with Brian. Anything to add?
But if we use that 51 for that purpose, it'll be an expense and a revenue, so it won't affect the tax rate
Correct.
for that particular 51,000.
That's right.
So if we wanted to get the whole list done, we'd have to add about 21,000 out of this budget to that money to get the emergency trees taken care of.
I just don't think we can go any further than 4.74. That would be then 4.77.
I don't know about the percentage, but.
Well, what was the plan? Do we want to borrow? I thought that it made sense to have a warrant item and spread it out over a few years for the trees, even before I knew what the budget was about.
Yeah, we just have a lot of debt service come up with the land trust, and I'm just, I think, just like we do with everything else, we can set aside some money and just chip away at it each year through the CIP, I just don't want to add more debt service to this budget and impact the tax base even further,
Most of these trees too, other than Woodville, Ulm, are very distinctly in Hope Valley, which is where Pleasant View Estates are. I mean, it seems to me that we could certainly use them. I think they could see as far, and maybe they'll get some of the trees for less than $750.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
the hope that.
maybe the 51 will cover further than we think it will.
Yeah.
You don't think there's, I'm trying to remember, Kevin sees no problem using that for trees outside of.
So maybe, right, maybe you can paraphrase what Kevin remarks were, I have it somewhere in my notes.
I have the email, and, you know,
You basically explained, I guess, about putting it in capital, right?
yeah, and I don't think it's a very quick, easy process, just to be upfront. You know, I definitely think that we definitely need his
Blessing.
yeah, his blessing on it, because I don't, you know, I think you know, you said originally, you know, that's not what the money was intended for, and we collected this fee from people when they first built the houses, so whenever you use money that, for anything other than its original intent, you know, it's a slippery slope, so as long as he's okay with it,
Yeah.
you know, that's not my area of expertise, but I think that it is a gray area, for sure. And he, you know, he says that,
I tried to get a hold of him tonight, but he was in court.
Yeah.
He'd call me back, but I'm not gonna.
I mean, if you guys read his email,
Yeah,
Yeah, use it for trees in that area, right, you know.
yeah, and I think that would be the, you know, if you used it on Dye Hill Road in the surrounding area, that'd be,
Yeah.
a little more palatable.
oh, yeah, exactly,
Start with.
right.
Is it identified as a specific impact fee restricted, a name
Yeah,
or a title
there is. Yeah.
that has to be changed in order to do that? Does that title have to be changed?
Yeah, I think we would have to go through, we'd have to, I mean, if you read the email, he, you know, he says, he gives his
It says offset
analysis,
improvements.
and he even kind of states in there that
Under special revenue.
Special
his
revenue.
analysis could be challenged by court and could be incorrect. So we do have to get a little bit, I would be more comfortable if he said, it's okay, you gotta do this, X, Y, Z,
Right.
then we can move forward. But when he says that, that's his, you know, I don't know. I know, I originally brought it up to Frank, it was, you know, I thought it was a great possibility, but I certainly don't think it's worth getting ourselves into some sort of legal issue. But that's just
Chat
my,
further with Kevin on it and see.
yeah, that, again, I think if Kevin says it's okay if you do X, Y, Z, and we'll follow the rules and do what we gotta do, but, you know, if he's confident that it's okay, then
I mean, people going to Dye Hill Road would have to get off at exit 3 or exit 2. And any of the roads leading to Dye Hill Road from the 2 main exits might indeed be part of it, because it's Dye Hill Road benefit as well as the rest of the town.
We can rule out the warrant option. I know you don't like to increase the debt service, but it is an emergency type thing, and warrant items should at least be considered and shouldn't be dismissed, at least at this time. And if-
But that's the debt service guy.
yeah, but it's also a public
Safety
safety
issue.
issue.
Right, well,
Yeah, how are we gonna get rid of the 1,000 trees? Are
I
you
mean-
thinking mainly, just do the emergency and then next year just do the emergency and keep
yeah,
doing
just
that?
chipping away there, you know, I mean, you know, have them reassess.
I
Once
pulled the
100
debt
trees are-
service, because you asked me to, so, yeah,
Sorry.
you know, I have to find it, I don't have it sitting here somewhere, but, you know, you're paying interest on $500,000, you know, you're gonna pay $100,000 in
It's
interest
a lot of money.
to take down dead trees, and
Right.
it seems,
Doesn't seem like a good use of money.
yeah, I mean, if we're gonna pay $500,000 to do it, we're gonna pay $500,000, but we don't wanna have to pay an extra $100,000 in interest to do it.
Yes, Dorothy?
I'm just wondering, I'm not looking forward to, but I'm looking at, possible increases for next year's budget. And I've heard from 3 different people, the expectation of 3 different costs to clean up Rose Townsend's dump, which probably would be, the town would have to do that. And I'm wondering, do we have any, official word from our engineers as to how much this is going to cost the town?
Well,
We're not there yet.
We're not even close.
Well, no, we got an opinion from Crossman, right, Bill? I think it was maybe $1 million, was it 800,000 to $1.2 million? So it was about $1 million on average to clean it up. And so-
Okay, so that's from our guys.
Yeah,
Okay, because
we got an independent evaluation because I think some folks in that particular area wanted someone other than the applicant's attorney, right? Or, yeah, engineering firm, and so we did that. So it costs us $500, $600, $700.
I heard from 3 different people, and they all gave me a different number, and I said,
It's
I want to
800
trust
to,
you all, but I want to verify.
it was
this.
800 to $1 million too, so I just went in the middle.
So they were right.
Oh, I think if we did the entire thing without Townsend's being responsible for
Right.
it.
Yeah, they don't have any money.
Yeah, but I thought they had a.
We definitely
Well, that's
can't borrow
gonna be
any money.
We can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with this. It's,
Yeah,
you know,
but anyway, that's the
It's
big.
gonna be end up being a negotiation.
$60,000 bill for the DEM work they already did.
Yeah,
The
so,
GM came in and did a rich one.
And people who didn't want solar said they'd be happy to pay.
Well, they're gonna.
oh,
So if we get 200 of them to pop in $5,000 each, we'll be all set.
all right, so that's that.
So we'll look into that.
Yeah, I'll look into it, yeah. I gotta talk to Kevin more about it and see what we can do. But it's,
Would you have to, is it possible for you to, poll the residents of Pleasant Valley, or whatever it's called?
Pleasant View.
Pleasant View Estates, and show them that you spent money on renovating that road, and how much you spent, and ask if there's a way to
Yeah, I know.
to have them kick that
It's not their
$51,000.
responsibility, it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility, not their responsibility. So we'll, like I said, go through whatever we have to go through.
Well, but if we've
But the
actually
money
spent,
is used for that area, for their benefit, period.
but if we've already spent
Oh, I
money
know, I know.
on fixing Downhill Road, I would think we ought to be able to assume the 51,000 that's in there.
And we can talk to Kevin.
Yeah, so
Why you say that.
when you read the documents that Brian had sent me, and I think Bill made copies, I distributed to everyone. Again, when it was created back then, 18, 19 years ago, it really did say for the sole purpose of fixing Downhill Road in the future.
You've already done that.
But
Right.
when you fix Downhill
Oh, yeah, no,
Road, why can't you use those invoices and try to get
I see
reimbursed
what you're saying,
and
yeah.
justify it based on the invoices
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
say?
I mean, that's a plausible argument, yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
so,
saying.
no, yeah, I mean, my whole thing is, we've already spent taxpayer dollars to renovate and completely refix, repave Dial Road, everyone's sharing in that expense, and really, there's not that much money to really, in that account, to fix anything, provide any recreational facilities, there's just not enough in there to do what the intended, the intended, you know.
but I'm just
Well,
saying.
we thought of that, you know,
Yeah,
obviously, if we've already spent the money, then you just put it in our revenue, but we still have to come up with money for the trees, so, you know.
So, you know, we're a little bit below where we started at because of all the changes in healthcare, taxes, net assessed values changing, you know, all this. We got a few bennies from Charahoe and whatever. So we could put aside a little bit of money for the trees and then still try and figure out, I mean, you know, we're at 80 cents now, Brian, instead of 83
I
where we
would-
started.
I would make a suggestion to maybe put, 50,000 out of the fund balance that we have in surplus above the minimum. And then if Kevin reviews it and feels comfortable with it,
Yep.
then we don't have to use the 50,000 out of fund balance. And then if he's okay with it, or if he's not okay with it, we have the money there and it's budgeted for in CIP.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a thought, I don't think.
Yeah,
we-
so net, it's not an increase, right? It's keeping things where it is.
Yeah, the rate, it wouldn't affect the tax rate.
So it just decreased the fund balance, but,
But it's still higher than the 4 million.
no, it's by 107,000, it's not. right?
Yeah, exactly, so if we take out 50,000, we're still above.
I think Brian feels comfortable with the Auditor General, hopefully, and they seem to be coming around to us, perhaps going above that 4%, so that means we wouldn't have to use that money, so. It's certainly a thought, I would certainly agree with that.
I mean, there are a couple contingencies right now
Yeah,
that are up in the air, unfortunately, that, one being the Auditor General's decision, which seems favorable. But again, I can't confidently, I can only tell you the vibe I was getting from them. They weren't able to.
That 750 a tree, is
yeah.
that an estimate that is the cost of DPW to take them down, or is it
No, that's
somebody?
an
outside-
Does that have to go to bid?
That's an outside source.
Is it an out to bid type thing?
We initially pegged it at about $500 a tree,
Yeah.
but he said, they met with the tree warden and all of the DPW employees, and they spread out all over the town, and they came up with this list as the most dangerous of all of them. I think there's 97 of them. But he said a more conservative estimate would be $750 a tree. They took a couple down on Collins Road, they get charged $1,100 a tree. So, I mean, they were huge trees.
There's some room yet.
So he said 750 would be
No.
a better estimate.
I'd rather us to be slightly higher than lower anyway.
Yeah, we'd have to go out to bid for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rockies and those guys are
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, okay.
Another town.
So yeah, that's certainly an option, Brian. I think you guys are okay with that, maybe?
Yes.
doing that?
Mhm.
And the only other thing, again, we started out, I think, at 83 cents on the mill rate. If you want to get close to getting this 97, the 97 trees cut down, we just add a couple pennies to the mill rate, go back to 82, and that gets us to 68,000. So it's pretty close to the 72 that it would take to get all 97 down. So that's certainly, we're still below a penny from where we started, so. Just a thought. Or we stay at 80 and take the 50 out of fund balance, and we were below 3 cents.
I would just be hesitant to do that only because the Auditor General, they're approving this contingent upon our enrollment shift.
Oh, okay.
So if we
Yeah.
start convoluting it with
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
budgetary items, then
Yeah, might make it
But
more
we do
money.
have to put, the Auditor General needs to know that we have a tree problem. And if we have 97 trees
Yeah, I
that
don't
have
think
to
they
come
care
down.
about that.
they,
Well, no, but the point is that if we
They're
have.
strictly
to put-
numbers, but anyway, but to
they're
your
not
point.
gonna care.
I would back up.
First of all, they don't even rule on any, that would be a whole separate item. They'd have to go to the Division of Municipal Finance.
Yeah.
The only thing they can rule on is,
State aid and enrollment shifts, right?
Okay, so what are we gonna do about the money for the trees?
Oh, we're gonna
We're gonna,
take 50,
right?
one
51
out of fund balance, put it in CIP.
Mhm.
That'll get the bulk of them squared away. We'll chat with Kevin further on that restricted account.
And we'll see if we can match it.
Right.
So for the moment,
Yeah.
we're not gonna say it's an expense at the moment, because we might have a revenue to offset it.
well,
In other words, we're not
The
gonna
account.
affect the tax rate at the moment.
Right, right.
We
It's not
don't
gonna
know.
affect-
it's not gonna affect the tax rate at all. It's gonna come out of fund balance. We put 50,000 out of fund balance
Okay.
Yeah.
and hope that we get the approval from the Auditor
Gotcha.
General.
Now, okay.
I mean,
we could do 72 out of fund balance, and that would
Exactly.
take care of all
That
the
would take
trees.
care of all the trees.
It doesn't leave us a whole heck of a lot left over from 107 that we got above and beyond.
Well, we really should put in enough to take care of the emergency trees.
And if we can use the 51 plus the additional 20,000 or 23,000, that's great.
yeah,
So
so I guess moving
maybe-
forward, I would just,
For the 97 trees, a better number is
72,000.
72.
Yeah, it's 72 and
Yeah,
change.
22,000.
so do you want to put all of that in the CIP? And then, I just wouldn't, I don't think it'd be wise to move forward with the assumption that we can use that 50,000. I mean,
So if we don't, we take it.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I just think that we should
That's
play
fine.
it safe and say,
Okay,
let's take it out of fund balance, and then if things work out in our favor and Kevin decides it's a possibility, great, but
So the reason our CIP is 72,000, you're going to add it to the CIP?
to the CIP. Yep.
Under public
It's
works?
72,750 is 97 times 750 a tree.
Yeah, I got that number too.
72,750?
So is that, you want me to do that exact
Yeah,
amount?
yeah, do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I probably should just create a separate CIP
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah.
because it seems like this problem's not gonna go away.
No,
No.
right?
And it will be under public works.
It should be in the CIP.
no, no,
Yeah, but under public works.
But a separate public works CIP, it won't be like, we don't wanna mix it with like
Right,
the
right.
Yeah,
purchasing.
no, that's fine. We still got about 34,000, 35,000 left over for the 2%, 2 months reserved in the fund balance. So we're still okay.
And we're taking care of the immediate emergency need.
You know,
Okay.
I agree.
That'll get down to 100 trees, entire new construction.
And what do you, look at that. I know, go through an old town. Old town, old trees.
Yeah, there was one thing I was trying to think of. You guys think of anything else? At the moment? I'll chat with Kevin, I guess, about that shit if you want to get some further direction. What do you guys think?
How are you?
Well, you guys haven't gone out to bid yet on the trees, so I don't understand how you can.
Well, don't print anything, we have to budget something, but we don't know.
You got a quote, didn't you? A rough quote from one of the DPW guys on the tree cost, didn't you?
Yeah, $750.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
So we really don't want,
Yeah, but we never get bids before we put something in CIP.
And then before something's actually in the.
You're not gonna go do the legwork and put an RFP out there, and collect bids if we don't have the money funded.
Okay.
So that's not how it works, but first we get it funded, then we go out for an RFP.
Plus, it doesn't take effect until July 1st.
All right, so I guess you guys have anything? Brian, Bill, Luca?
Who gets the money from the wood? Most of these guys, they cut down the trees, they
and
sell
That-
people
that's
come
up to
along
the-
and pick it up.
That's up to the contractor, I guess, whoever we hire.
Or it's up to us and we put it in the bid down.
Yeah, we put it in the bid, the RFP, you know, and then it would come back, you know, it would be part of the bid.
But you can take some of that wood and sell it to the local citizens.
That would be,
I don't think that's practical.
people get it for free, and it's always been that way. They go behind the trucks and they pick it up and leave. Somebody else goes behind the truck, picks it up and leaves. Anybody who's got a pickup or whatever who wants to do that, they can go behind and that's what they do. And sometimes the owner will come out and say, I really want that, you know, and that's fine too, whatever. There's gonna be a lot of trees all over the state. There's gonna be a lot of wood, and the price is gonna come down for cords,
Yeah,
per cord.
I think so.
It's already down.
And it's also a good way to help people who need wood.
We actually got a price of $175 for quarters of pine. We got $175, hot split, beautiful seasoned wood. Yeah, it's all over.
I'll just start
Basically.
I don't want you to think I'm being flip about not cutting trees, I just don't think we can afford it. After our last meeting, when I said, we can't afford it, you know, we can't afford a $500,000 bond. When I went home, I couldn't get home, because there was a tree across the road. You know, the fire trucks were there, and the electric company came and shut off the power, and some neighbors down that street came, chainsawed it up, tossed it off to the sides, and we finally got our power back. In October, by October 21st, a total of 14 days I have been without power. So, I mean, I'm not being flip. You just make your choices, you know, as to what you decide to do. You know, you don't want money coming in from one project, you have to make it up somewhere, and unfortunately, you can't cut trees and you can't tear down the school. And I doubt very much we'll be able to do it next year either.
Because you brought copies for them.
I don't see, you know, I don't see that as a possibility.
No, at least we can get some of the emergency trees
I
down.
made the changes. I got them this afternoon.
Yeah, a little bit at a time, doesn't affect the tax rate.
You know, I've been chucking wood, I was chucking wood into my wood stove in the fireplace like a squirrel with a
So the stuff that you got up there is
Yes.
leading back.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay. So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.